All right, let's see some of these tricks that you've used to to animate your static text and make it a motion graphic.
Awesome. So I've got a project set up for us to show that. Okay, so I'm just going to run through the different tools that you can use to animate text for a project like this. So the first one's color. Okay, so I am going to come in here and I'm going to just double click on this text block. And just so you know, that the text block that I'm using, if you just navigate to text, you have lots of options. You can expand the titles to access all of those options. There are other categories as well. I'm just using this simple text block here. Okay, so that's the one we're using. I've already just set it up here and just changed it to say color so we know what tool we're focusing in on. So I'm just going to double click on that. And, you want to get the font to be a font that you want to use. You can adjust the size, get it the way that you want, and adjust these text blocks. And then you can use this grid tool to help you kind of position things where you want them. And then what I like to do is come over here and look at the XY coordinates and just make sure that we have like nice round numbers. So negative 32, pretty close to negative 30, 299, pretty close to 300. And those are going to help us position things in ways that are centered and balanced, but also those numbers are going to be helpful when we want to use tools like the animation tool because they're easy to remember. So as far as using color to animate text, I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to change the color and I'm going to kind of find like a tone that I like. You can go super bright or a little softer. So just looking for one that I like. I like that tone. And so I'm going to go with that one and click out of here. And then I'm just going to trim this down. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can see this a little better. I'm going to trim this down here. And actually what I want to do now is add the audio so that we can kind of animate this in time with the audio. So you can look at use the audio tab to search the stock media library. I think I searched house music or EDM, one of Ryan's favorite styles of music for this. And I found one. I have it that I like. It's in the project bin. So I'm just going to drag this down to the audio one track. Drag it down in the audio one track. See, Ryan, that's not so bad. That music.
That sounded a little Fatboy Slimish. Remember that? Remember Fatboy Slim?
I need to go dig into his material. I don't know it as well as I feel like I should.
It's dating me back to the late 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. So the editor currently it's set up as 25 frames per second. So I want to choose a clip length that is going to be divisible by 25. So 0.05 is good. 0.05. So I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to paste it and we're just going to keep going here until we fill in our 2-second animation here. And then I'm just going to come in and I'm going to adjust each of these. I've already got the like sort of palette tone set up that I want. And so I'm just going to click and drag to change the color and the tones will all match, which is great. And so we're going to just kind of cycle through. You don't have to cycle through. I mean, you can randomize this. You can pick just like 2 or 3 colors that you want to cycle through back and forth. You can randomize the order. You can play around with all sorts of things that ways of kind of using color to animate. But for this one, we're going to cycle through. So just coming through here, just double clicking on the text box and adjusting the color here. And almost to the end. There we go. I'm going to leave this a little bit off of red. Okay, so now we've got color. Let's check this animation out just using a simple tool, color. Pretty cool, right? So I could have set that up with my name, and that would be a design my name animation right there.
You just used a static text block for that, and then all you did was change the color palette. And you had to consider, there's a couple things you had to consider, right? The frame rate divisibility, right? And you set each of the blocks at, what would you say, 0.5 seconds?
0.05.
0.05. Yep. So, and then what you could do is you could actually copy all of those sections and paste them again. So once you have like the sections that you want and the colors, you could highlight all of those, copy and paste them, and just continue on down your timeline to make it a longer animation.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, you can just click and drag to select everything, or Command A to select all if that's all you have in your editor in the timeline. Absolutely. Or if I'm exporting as a GIF, I could export that as a GIF, and it's just going to play when I'm done. Yeah. But if I'm matching it to music, copy and paste and just have it cycle through. So that's first tool I wanted to feature is using color. Next tool I want to feature is using font style. So I am going to, again, you want to get the text block set up the way you want it before you start to split the text and adjust in that way. So I'm just going to double click again, get the font that I want, get the size that I want, drag this text box out, and then again, just centering that text or positioning it, where you want it on the screen. Might not be the center, and then getting some nice round numbers there. Cool. So now what I'm going to do is we're starting at the 2-second mark. So let's do, instead of I'll do like this. So I'm just using S on my keyboard to split this. Nifty little tool I learned at ISTE, actually, from your friend, the podcast host.
Oh, from Gabe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and his podcast.
That's Gabe Roperio, teaching us new things. Teaching us new shortcuts in our editor.
Yes.
Absolutely. You can also split the clip from the toolbar just above the editor itself, just above the timeline. There's that split feature. You scrub your playhead to where you want to split your clip, select the little scissors icon, and it will split your clip just like Stu used with that keyboard shortcut, which was Command S.
Yeah. So all I've done is split my clip. I haven't changed anything. So if we watch this, you're not even going to be able to tell that I did anything. I'll just play this.
Yep.
So it's not animated.
Yep, it's the same block of text. Everything is the same. You haven't changed anything yet, even though you've split them into equal sections of. Did you remind us what the time was that you said for that?
I did like 0.10 this time.
Okay.
So yeah. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to get rid of these 3 because I don't need them. All I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the second clip and I'm going to italicize it. And then, like Ryan mentioned, you can highlight multiple clips. I'm using Command C on my keyboard to copy, and then, as you know, Command V on my keyboard to paste.
Yep.
And we've only got room for one more. So we'll paste the one we want in there, and then here's the animation we get. Nice little dancing text.
Yeah, I love that. It's a perfect example of simplicity in creating a motion graphic. That was 1 or 2 moves in the editor. Splitting the clip, changing the fonts, italicizing the font, and then you have an animation, right?
Yeah.
And it's really like that flip book style too, where you're just kind of flipping the pages and creating that animation from a static image.
Totally. Yeah. Super fun. So the next tool I want to show is transitions, and I'm just going to separate these clips slightly because I don't want the transition to link the 2 clips. I want the transition to just be connected to this text block that says transition. So I'm just creating a little space on either end there. And again, I'm going to double click into this text block. I'm going to make sure that it's set up the way I want. So we'll extend this text block. Again, choose the font size that we want, and we'll center this. I'll try 300 there. And then it's just using transitions. So over here on the left-hand side, in our media bin, you can click on transitions. There are all sorts of transitions in here that are super fun, that you can play around with. Let's do, man, there's so many. Which one to choose? There's so many cool ones. Why don't we do this sequential grid?
Oh yeah, that one's really cool.
And then why don't we try this bubble pattern? Actually, we're gonna need this to be a little bit longer.
Yeah, just bring it up to a different track there.
To bring to add a transition on both sides. Okay, cool. So let me center this so you guys will have a good preview of this. And let's check this out. Yeah, there you go.
Super easy.
Super easy, kind of fun. You can adjust the time of the transition.
Yep. You can do that all from within the transition inline in the timeline.
Yep.
You can apply that transition to all your clips as well, or just to the selected as well. Apply it to all of your transitions or just to the selected one.
There we go. So yeah, I'm just gonna shrink this down so it fits back in our video 1 track, and I'll place this back in here. And yeah, so this is with like a little quicker animation with a shorter transition. So yeah, there you go. Super simple. And there, like I said, there are tons of transitions in here. So they'll animate the text in different ways, so you can play around with that and really have a lot of possibilities for what you can do there.
Yeah, there are a lot of fun. Transitions are a lot of fun to play with, and just doing something as simple as what Stu's doing now, as a way to teach all these different styles of motion graphics. I'd encourage you and your students to just go have fun. Go nuts with the transitions. It's fantastic.
Totally. So yeah, the next tool I want to talk about is using position to animate text. So again, we're going to get the text set up the way that we want it. Choose the font, choose the font size, get the text box. And I'm sort of repeating this for you all intentionally, because this is like a workflow that, if you can get into, it's just going to be helpful to remember, like, okay, get the text set up the way you want, make the X and Y coordinates nice round numbers. It's just a good workflow to get into. So that's why I'm kind of repeating that part. But then as far as using position, so there are different ways you could do this. I'm going to use position to animate the text. And so I've got the text where I want it as sort of our main position. So now I'm going to split the text box, and I'm going to animate this first portion. And so if you double click on text, you have the animation option here, and you can change the start and end position. So we're going to leave the end position as is. We're just going to adjust the start position, and notice that the Y axis the coordinate is 300. So I'm just going to swoop this over here, and we want it to move perfectly horizontally. So I'm just going to make this 300. And you can always, round that number out too, if you want. And we get this nice animation. Now, if we want to slow that down, all we do is just lengthen the clip that we're animating so that it's moving the same distance in a longer period of time. It's going to move slower, distance over time. You can like even work in like math principles. You have in a math class, you could have students apply what they know about math or what they're learning about math to create an animation at different speeds.
Totally.
We're using XY coordinates, right? Like it's all of that.
There's so much math in video editing itself. Like you could really use this to assess on a number of different mathematical concepts.
Totally. So yeah, so now we got a little slower animation. Okay, so you can play around with that. I'm just going to undo because I liked that fast animation. And then again, I could have this swoop off the screen too, just by splitting this clip again and then animating this next clip. So for this one, we'll leave the start position as is, and then we'll just change the end position, have it fly off the page. Again, get our y coordinates to match 300. Make our x coordinates nice round number. And let's see, this one happens over the course of 0.07. If we want the timing to be the same, the speed to be the same, we'll just shrink this down to 0.07 and then check this out. Okay, fly in, fly out.
Yep. Okay. And so that end position, you may have seen that in other concepts like the Ken Burns style animation that I know we promote here at WeVideo on animating static like media images. It's the same kind of construct, right? Like you're starting something in one position and it ends in a different one. This one was flying in, flying out, but you can have zoom in, zoom out. You can have start small, get big, start big, get small. All of those different positional techniques that you can use to kind of create that sense of animation in a static image.
Totally, yeah. That's actually the next one I wanted to talk about is using scale. So it's going into the same tools. So again, we're just going to set the text up the way that we want to. Change the font, change the size of the text block, and then change the XY coordinates so it's centered. Okay, and then for this one, we're going to do something similar. We're gonna split this clip again twice. Okay, and we'll animate the first section by going to animation. And instead of changing the XY coordinates, we're going to change the scale. So for the start position, we're going to bring the scale way down. And then we'll leave the end position the same. And so that's going to create this nice fly-in, or this nice like zoom effect. Okay. And then we'll adjust the last clip. We'll leave the start scale the same and change the end scale. Let's just like zoom that out. And
by far.
Yeah, up close and personal with the text.
Yeah,
in your face. And we'll just adjust these so the time is the same again, so the speed of the animation is the same. And let's just kind of center this here. And here we go. Okay, yeah, fun one there. So yeah, that's again using the animation tool, but it's just using scale or position. And then of course you can combine those too, scale and position.
Really? Yeah, and I remember the first time, again, I'm going to date myself here, but the first time I remember seeing something like that, the scale animation, was the beginning of the Looney Tunes cartoons, where the Warner Brothers logo comes in really small and it gets really big. And it just like, it always like captures your attention, I feel like, that style of animation. It's in your face, like you said. Really get up close and personal with your text.
Throwback to Looney Tunes. Wow.
I've thrown a couple throwback nuggets into this episode today.
Thank you for keeping us grounded. I appreciate that. Next tool that I want to feature is the opacity tool. This one's super fun. So again, I'm going to just come in here, get our text set up the way that we want by changing the font, changing the size, changing the X and Y coordinates, and then adjusting the text block. Okay, and so for this one, we are going to use this tool here where it says audio and opacity at the top of the timeline. If you click on that, you can show audio levels or opacity levels. We're going to show opacity levels, and we get this green line on our clip, and that is showing us the opacity level. So right now we are at 0 opacity. We're at fully opaque, 0 transparency, 100% opacity. So if we click on that green line, we can create keyframes. And so I'm just going to create a couple keyframes, and then we can drag the opacity down. And so we're just going to kind of flash on and off, going from 0 to 100 a couple times. And you can adjust the timing depending on the effect that you're going for. I'm going to try to get these like kind of even. Maybe we'll actually speed this up a little bit, shorten the time as we go. And then you can, it doesn't have to be 0 or 100. You can also kind of like fade down the opacity, fade it back up. We'll just do it like that, and let's check out how that looks. Okay, kind of fun. And again, you could shorten this if you want it to be a little more just a faster animation. And you might have noticed I just got rid of it. I accidentally clicked on the line. I created a keyframe. I didn't want it. If you double click on the keyframe, it goes away.
Yep. Also, something that's not really apparent or obvious, but that is how you remove the keyframes. Just double click them.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to speed this up in the beginning a little bit, make it a little bit more of a flash.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, that's the opacity tool. The next thing I want to show you is using backgrounds. So there are a couple different ways that you can do this, but I'm going to move this text block up here. And if you search the stock media library, you can search things like colorful backgrounds, and you'll get lots of cool options. Whoa, look at these. These are super fun. Wow.
That's cool. I like that one a lot. I've not seen
that. I haven't seen that either. That's why I'm like, that was a genuine surprise.
Well, sometimes we discover new things about our product on a daily basis.
You can search animated backgrounds. You get some fun. I love that one. Yeah, patterns. This one's cool.
The ones with the patterns are great for animation as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like there are other search terms, like what's the one I'm trying to think of? I think particles created. You could search like space, but like these are super fun.
Those are cool. Yeah, that one.
And then also you can search like transition packs. No, that's not what we want. Let's try it. Yeah, transition pack, colorful transitions. Colorful transitions. You get lots of cool things. I love this one. So let's do this one. This one's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna. What's that?
It's like a parasol effect.
Yeah. So I'm gonna drag this down here to this top track here, just so I can trim it. And so it's gonna show us all the animations that are in this first. So I'm just gonna get to the start of the animation I want to use. And I'm gonna split this clip, press delete on my keyboard to get rid of what I don't want. And we're gonna shrink this down, trim this down. And so what I'm gonna do is, that's actually good. So we'll just trim this down to fit in this space here. Bring it down to the bottom layer. And then we could have text on top like this. We could also, this would be a good opportunity to also use our transparent text. So I'm going to layer this on top. And again, you could use the same static text we've been using, but I just want to show you how the transparent text works. So I'm just going to double click on the text. We'll just leave it saying transparent. Actually, let's make it say backgrounds. And we'll get this set up the way we want it again.
And this transparent text came in a release earlier in January with our new text engine. So you might have seen the new textiles that we have. And transparent text, which was not available even the beginning of last school year, is now something available to you, to everybody with WeVideo for Schools accounts. So a really cool addition to the text library for sure.
Totally. And so the way this would play right now is like that. If we wanted to fill the screen with the overlay there, what we could do is just add a character. It could be any character. I'm going to use a period, and then create use return to create some space there, and do that again on the back end, and then we'll just adjust this so it's centered.
Yeah, I love this.
And then that would look like this.
You've created using that transparent text, creating a cool motion graphic using those backgrounds. I think it's another more interesting, in my opinion, like a little bit of a more interesting way to create that animation.
Totally.
Text for sure.
Yeah. And then, I thought that looked pretty cool with the white, but you could also play around with like a black overlay and see just higher contrast. I mean, that's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it's like sort of going from like light, there's like a light turning on almost, and then so yeah, that is using backgrounds, and then in this case we use the transparent text. And then the last thing I want to show you is using layers. And so for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this opacity one that we already have set up over here, just copying and pasting this over here. And I'm gonna turn off the show opacity so that it's just not distracting there. And I'm gonna copy, copy and paste this, bring this up here. We're just gonna layer these over each other. And we're gonna make this top layer black. And then we'll leave the bottom layer white. And then let me zoom in on here. We're just gonna take away all these keyframes. I think this is easier than, we could also just add a new text block, but and then just make sure like the font size and style and coordinates work. But that was pretty quick. And so now it's just using layers. So there are lots of different ways you could use layers, but you're also now starting to get into combining the different tools that we've featured today, and layering them over each other, which is how I created the graphic where it was going like this that I showed you in the beginning. So here's what that would look like. So I think that looks pretty cool. And then so then basically let's just trim this audio down and give this audio maybe a fade out at the end. And let's see what this whole thing looks like. And this will be just kind of a recap of the tools for y'all that we went through.
So color.
Let's go full screen on this.
Font style. Very cool.
Yeah, and then
in and of itself, there's the design your name activity, but also create motion graphics like that. Create 3 to 4 motion graphics and have them all on the same timeline, which is really cool.
Totally. And then so I think now that you know all those tools, maybe you could put in the chat which of those tools do you think are being used to create this graphic, right? And try to
comment below. What do you think?
Try to apply what you learned to sort of analyze, assess, and then visualize and imagine what you would want to create and how you combine those tools to create something really neat, because it's really up to your imagination.